Hello there. You can probably see me now. Hey, fresh off of finishing the Titanic, taking a little break, and while I was taking that break, I decided to build something that I did not document. Anybody recognize this piece? This is the Vulcan shuttle. Threw it together pretty quick, did the pre-shading, and the detail painting is all set. The only thing is left is the decals, and then the decals that go on top of the decals, and then coating it and putting it away. But that was just for fun. Now, as part of one of my passions from all the way back in 1980s, 1983, I believe, there was a movie. Before the movie, there was a magazine that I subscribed to since issue 1, 70s into the 80s, and then they made a movie. Always been a sci-fi fan, always been an animation fan. Not that much of anime, but this one was really awesome. I really especially like the... Well, while I was cleaning a model, I was using my Dremel stylus, and this happened. It won't shut off. Press the power button, press it down, hold it down, won't turn off. The variable speed doesn't work, and it seems to be revving higher than even if it was turned all the way up on high speed. This happened while I was actually using it on low speed. It just popped and started doing this, and it's starting to get really warm. I don't know what to do. I'm going to have to contact Dremel, see if they'll replace it, because I'm sure it's going to overheat before the battery dies, because the battery's fully charged when I started. Not cool. However, sorry about the noise. Other than putting it in another room, there's not much I can do. I'm just about done cleaning up Taarna. I still have to figure out how to straighten her sword. I'm going to try the hot water and straightening it out using a long clamp so that it's held in place. See if that will straighten out. Next, I have to clean up the bird. No, next I have to bring that stylus out into the garage so it makes less noise. Back with a little update on the bird and Taarna. The bird has been cleaned up. Got a little bit of Mr. Surfacer 1200 on here so that I could see if there was any additional places where I had to clean up. It looks like it's pretty good. When I opened up the bits and bobs bag, I noticed I have 2 left rear wings and no right rear wing. So what I did was I cleaned up one of the left rear wings and got it connected, and then busted out some styrene rod and tubes to build an armature coming out of the holes, the mounting holes. Busted out some Aves epoxy sculpt and made a rough approximation of the shape. It's really, really rough right now, but I didn't want to get too fancy with putting it together. At this point, I wanted to get it into the right shape, and then I can clean it up with sanding and with some filler. So that worked out well. I used some mold release on the bird, so I have to remember to wash that before I paint it again, so that I would be able to get the epoxy sculpt back off. But I think it came out not too bad. Rather organic. Needs a lot of sanding. With Taarna, I had the epoxy sculpt out anyway, so I filled in the big gap on her arm, and underneath this hand there was a huge gap in there, so that's all filled in. There's still a couple of bubbles near there that need to be filled in with some Bondo glazing putty. And I gave her a coat of Mr. Surfacer 1200 with the airbrush so that I could see if there was anything else that I had missed. And I did notice that underneath the breasts there are little triangles of support in there, probably to help keep the detail there. Those need to come out. The bubbles that she had on her neck were completely removed by using Mr. Surfacer 500. I just got in there, filled it, let it dry a little bit, filled it again, and then smoothed it out with the leveling thinner, and it worked great. So she should be pretty good. For the sword, I taped that onto a popsicle stick, heated it up first, put it on the top popsicle stick, taped it down, let it cool, heated it up again when it was in place, made minor adjustments to make sure it was straight, let it cool, heated it up again, and let it cool. So this should be its natural shape from now on, unless it gets hot and it melts and bends down, in which case I know how to fix it. I was originally going to think about trying to make a metal version of the sword, and then I realized there's a blood groove that goes from tip to stem to stern, or wherever, the full length of the blade, and that would be rather difficult to implement in metal. So she's all cured up, ready to go. I got to do some cleanup, some more filling and some more sanding, and then give her another coat of Mr. Surfacer 1200, and then she's ready to start the flesh painting, which I've been investigating. It looks like I'm going to go with some brush painting for the flesh. I'll do an airbrush for the medium tone, or maybe the dark tone, not quite sure yet. And then do some blending acrylics or oils. I haven't decided which of those. And then pastels on top of that. And then lots of masking, and then painting the clothes, and washes, and lots of dull coats in between. Now, before I bother doing Taarna, because this is a grail kit for me, I am going to do Hollywood from Cool World. He included this because this was warped from the mold. The mold was shot. There was actually a lot of the pieces of the mold in between her shoes when I received it. So I've done a little bit of cleanup on it. I'm going to use this as a practice piece for learning how to do skin tone. And then once I'm happy with the process, I'll dunk her in simple green, clean her up, and then do a better job cleaning her up, and then do another run of the skin tone on Hollywood so that I'm good and ready before I try and tackle Taarna. Oh, let's see. Oh, yes, and the spaceship. The spaceship had a whole bunch of bubbles, very small ones, Mr. Surfacer 500, and some minor masking, and lots of sanding, and it's probably 75% cleaned up. There's some scribe lines that I need to go back over. I don't know how well you can see that on there, but there's some edges here that need to be cleaned up a little bit. Once this is cleaned up, this should be a pretty easy paint job, because it's the mouth and the two sides, and pretty much the rest is just blue, maybe with a wash to bring out the details. It was a cartoon, so it's not hyper realistic. There's not a lot to do. I do need to come up with a metal pole to come out of the hole in the bottom to go down into the pentagon. Now the pentagon has no detail. It is literally just a pentagon. I'm going to go online, see if I can find some pictures, and then print up some decals to make the pentagon look more like the Pentagon. But I'll also need that tube that goes down into the pentagon, and then I'm going to build a little hill with maybe some scale trees, so that it looks like the scene where they're sucking up the secretary. Alright, that's it for this update. We'll catch you next time.